Greetings, lovely people. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you coming on board. Lovely people, Captain Ibrahim Traoré is causing confusion in the camp of the enemy. The man is not receiving support only from Africans, only from his brothers, but in the camp of the people who want him down. We are seeing people rising up from that same camp, defending him, exposing their people. So Europeans are standing with him, Italians are standing with him, Americans are standing with him. I mean, there are people from the camp of the people that are looking for him, want his downfall. Even some of the people are coming from France, standing up to their government in defense of Captain Ibrahim Traoré. The people in France, I think I have to, in the next video, I'm going to translate everything they are saying about him and accurate, and they are using history to expose their own people in solidarity with Captain Ibrahim Traoré, which means that if Africans will even cross our hands today, that okay, let's watch what is going to happen. The people from the camp of the enemy, their own people, will stand up and defend the leader of Burkina Faso or the leaders of AES because they are doing it. Let me present you a few of these people that are coming out in defense of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, and these are not Africans. The first one we have is this man. I don't know who he is.
Ibrahim Traoré is setting a standard, he's setting an example, and he's setting a pace that puts the rest of Africa to shame. I mean, I told UCT students the other day, you have me here talking about decolonization and decoloniality and all of that. You go from one conference to the other. But are we doing anything about it? I don't see Traoré calling conferences. I just see him making decisions and say, what decoloniality is this: I'm taking our control of our minerals, I'm taking control of this, taking control of that, I'm switching our allegiances because I find more possibilities here than I do there. I'm walking away from France, I'm breaking the ties and the chokehold of coloniality through France in my country. I'm giving my young people new opportunities. I'm giving them a new vision. He's a young man with a vision. No other African leader. Well, maybe now, those who are being awakened by him. But that kind of singular vision, that kind of singular dedication, that kind of way, is that if I want to create a revolution that serves my people, I first have to learn to love my people. He has that. I sense that in Sankara.
Exactly, this is true. The man doesn't talk. He is acting, and we are rather making the talk. The people are rather talking. He is not talking. He's just taking actions. In democracy or democratic countries, African leaders, they talk and we will wait for the actions forever. We will be taking action on their behalf. And this is not coming from African. Meanwhile, we have some Africans, even African leaders, who are standing against this man, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, Abdurrahman Tiani, and the coup. His own brothers are standing against him. One is in Cote d'Ivoire. You can mention them. You see how blunt we are as Africans sometimes? Now, the second one we have on board right now is an Italian politician. This woman who served as Prime Minister of Italy since 2022. She is the first woman to hold the office. And this woman is known to speak and tell it how it is.
The solution is not to take Africans and move them to Europe. The solution is to free Africa from certain Europeans who exploit it and allow these people to live off what they have. This is called the CFA franc, a colonial currency that France prints for 14 African nations, and by virtue of which it exploits the resources of this nation. This is a child working in a gold mine in Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is one of the poorest nations in the world. For Burkina Faso, which has gold, France prints colonial currency. In return, it demands that 50% of everything Burkina Faso exports ends up in the coffers of the French treasury. The gold that this child crawls into a tunnel to extract mostly ends up in the coffers of the French state.
And lovely people, mind you, this is coming from Italian Prime Minister. Italy is not innocent when it comes to exploitation of Africa. Italy actually has a history of exploiting part of Africa during the colonial era. That is a fact. History have it there. They participated in colonization and imperialistic activities in Africa. When you check their colonial territories, you have Libya, colonized by Italy in 1911 after defeating the Ottoman Empire in a Italo-Turkish war. That is not all. Eritrea became an Italian colony in 1890s. In Somalia, Italy controlled southern Somalia, which is Italian Somaliland or Somaliland. From the late 19th century until after the Second World War, Ethiopia was invaded by Italy in 1935. When we check the history of where this woman is speaking from, Italy with Africa, natural resources were extracted for Italy's benefit. Local population suffered displacement, violence, and economic exploitation because of Italy. Infrastructures was developed mainly to serve Italy's interests, not African development. This is where this woman is coming from. And is speaking like this. This is not supposed to be coming from an Italian prime minister because of the history they had with Africa. Now let's go to the third one. The trend is changing. This man, his name is Saheed Bosen. He's a controversial figure actually. And he's one of the most unique and influential public intellectual of the Muslim world. He was born in the United States and raised in the United States. He lined up some slide lectures, beautiful one which every African need to hear about. He made some wonderful remarks about Captain Ibrahim Traoré and the way he was equating Captain Ibrahim Traoré. He made some controversial point in regards to Captain Ibrahim Traoré, which I don't agree, I don't disagree, but I respect his opinion. Some points he raised actually caused confusion on social media because a lot of people were pissed off and some people were in agreement with him. In fact, he shook tables. The first point he raised actually proved one of my ideology wrong. I was believing that Kwame Nkrumah, Gaddafi, Thomas Sankara and co, these fighters, I was believing that they were ahead of their generation. I always said this. But he doesn't agree with that. And Odemaya actually confirmed something he said in reference to Burkina Faso and Captain Ibrahim Traoré.
You know, when people talk about a Patrice Lumumba or Kwame Nkrumah, for example, or Thomas Sankara, or even Sukarno, they always say that they were ahead of their time. But that's not true. They weren't ahead of their time. They were not revolutionary thinkers, if you know what I mean. They were just incredibly astute, mature, sensible men with a very crystal clear understanding about how things should be. There was nothing futuristic or utopian in their visions. They just understood and identified exactly what had been done to Africa and what was being done to Africa. And they understood exactly what liberation and what sovereignty required. They weren't ahead of their time. Time refused to advance. Time was being held back, especially in Africa. The West, Europe, the UK, and America refused to allow Africa to exist in the present day. Not just Africa, of course, all across the global South. So
I added something very interesting. You know, African leaders go to meetings a lot. US Africa meeting, EU Africa whatever meeting they go, and they go to these meetings with the aim of upgrading relationship between Africa and Europe, Africa and America and the co. But chairman is saying that our relationship with the West have remained the same and nothing changes.
Relationships between countries, between continents evolve and develop and change over time. We've seen drastic changes in international relationships in just the last 20 years. In fact, we've seen drastic changes in just the last 4 or 5 years. You know, even the last 100 days, to be honest. But the West's relationship with Africa has remained essentially the same for 1,000 years. Subjugation and extraction, looting and pillage. So for Lumumba or Nkrumah, it was the 1960s, but for the West, it was still the 1860s, the 1760s, the 1660s. For the West, Africa was frozen in time, and they kept it frozen in time by force. They kept it frozen in time by predatory lending, by neoliberal policy coercion, by manufactured debt and abusive trade policies. You know, when they can't send soldiers, they send consultants. So no, those great leaders weren't ahead of their time. The West stopped time in Africa. And understand this, when you arrest the forward movement of a people, when you stop them in time like that, you're not just stealing their wealth, you're stealing their future. You're robbing them of possibility. You're burying generations that have not even been born yet under the rubble of your exploitation.
These lovely people is a typical truth where all platforms are not ready to hear, but it's the truth. Now, this is where the controversy stepped in. He is referring to Captain Ibrahim Traoré as the greatest Muslim leader. He's claiming him as part of the Muslim world, and it has sparked a lot of reactions.
The West's relative power is receding. That old wolf still has fangs, but the global South is raising some young lions of their own today. They're reviving the spirit of Lumumba and Sankara and Nkrumah. Your grip on Africa is being pried open. And yes, of course, I'm talking about Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso. And all the leaders in the Sahel Alliance countries, obviously, but especially Ibrahim Traoré. You know, it's often only in retrospect that we recognize the magnitude of a figure who shifts the course of history, shifts the course of events in the world. But if anyone's paying attention, you can all see that Ibrahim Traoré is clearly one of the most consequential leaders, not just in Africa, not just in the Muslim world, but in the entire global South and in fact in the world. You know, I said on X the other day that Ibrahim Traoré is the most important Muslim leader in the world today. More than Erdogan, more than MBS, more than anyone else. Because of what he represents. You know, of course I had a lot of fake Pan-Africanists in my comment section getting mad about the fact that I was referring to Ibrahim Traoré as a Muslim leader, because they only want to identify him exclusively as a black leader or as exclusively as an African leader. They don't want to acknowledge the fact that he is a Muslim. Just because Ibrahim Traoré doesn't wear his religion on his sleeve, and just because he doesn't takwa signal, you know, all the time like some so-called Islamists, you think we don't get to claim him as part of our ummah? We don't get to say that he's a Muslim leader, but he is a Muslim leader. He's an African leader who is a Muslim. And I'm sorry to tell you, but again, the fact of the matter is that the best leaders you have in Africa today are the ones who are Muslims. You can get mad about it all you want. You can say, why does Shaheed have to bring up religion? Why do you have to bring religion into it? But that's just a way of gaslighting about the fact that you don't want religion to be brought into it. You want to keep religion out of it. I mean, alhamdulillah, we have many great Muslim leaders in the world today, despite what everyone says. We have great leaders, many. But in my opinion, Ibrahim Traoré is the most important.
Anyway, I'm also of the view of not bringing religion into this, but the truth is, when you check most puppet and corrupt leaders in Africa, they are all Christians. These people can eat communion like they're hungry from their house. They can eat communion in church, but zero positive impact in the life of people. So I don't agree, I don't disagree, but I respect his point perfectly. I respect it. Now, this is where Odemaya came in and agreed with him. Listen to this.
Ibrahim Traoré led a coup against a government that was subservient to its foreign masters. You know, there's been many coups across the continent, but usually those just replaced one neo-colonial agent with another, usually. But Ibrahim Traoré is different. He's not just changing the government. He is uprooting the whole system of neo-colonial domination. And he's succeeding. He's understood what many people have failed to grasp, which is that independence is meaningless if you don't sever the control of the owners and controllers of global financialized capital. He's understood that security is a myth as long as it depends on the military patronage of your former colonizers. And he's understood that sovereignty is impossible under the shadow of Western tutelage. He's not merely a head of state. Ibrahim Traoré is the revolutionary archetype of the 21st century. Traoré has made the choice to look towards Russia and Turkey and towards other new centers of power in the multipolar world. That's strategic. Not because they're perfect allies, but because he recognizes the necessity of breaking the Western stranglehold on Burkina Faso. This is pragmatism in service to principle. This again is the methodology of middle nation. It's engagement without submission, cooperation without subjugation. It's trade-offs without selling out. Burkina Faso isn't just a battleground today for the Burkinabe people. It's the front line in a global struggle for liberation. What Ibrahim Traoré is doing is echoing in the Sahel, in Niger, in Mali, across Africa, across the Ummah, across the global South, and across the world. Every oppressed people around the world can now look to Burkina Faso and to Ibrahim Traoré and say liberation looks like it's actually possible.
This is an amazing point. Burkina Faso isn't just a battleground for the Burkinabe people. It is now the front line for all Africans, because this is what we are all looking at. And Odemaya confirmed this. He posted this on his page. He said, I thought uniting Africa would be difficult, but Ibrahim Traoré has single-handedly united Africans in Africa and its diaspora without calling meeting. No. Captain Ibrahim Traoré has not called any meeting like Kwame Nkrumah was trying to call meeting and bring Africans together. No meeting. He's just taking actions, and Africans with their eyes were open. And because of him, Africans across the world can actually view freedom as achievable today. Kwame Nkrumah wanted to do it, and then they have to call meeting, and Addis Ababa meeting must come in and out. No. Right now, as we are speaking, even when Captain Ibrahim Traoré came to Ghana, he told the people, the citizens are already united, left with the leaders to join the conversation. The leaders, with their greed, refused to join the conversation, which left us still divided physically and on the practical ground. But mentally, we are all united. On 30th April, what happened proved that Africans, we are now sharing the burden of each other. The problem of Togo is now all of us our problem. The problem of Burkina Faso is now all of us our problem. Problem of South Africa is for all of us, unless South Africans disagree. The problem of Uganda become all of us. So the truth is truth. Captain Ibrahim Traoré has united Africa without any official meeting with Africans.